compensation, sir.
What sort of stupid question is that? Are you blind? Yes.
Like I told my last wife, I says, honey, I never drive faster than I can see. Besides that, it's on the reflexes.
Hello, is it me you're looking for?
Yeah, phone whispering in my ear. Tell me all the things that I wanna hear.
But it was just my imagination running away with me.
So cynical.
And now we go to a map of America. And what do we find in America? The Mississippi River. And the Mississippi River runs the entire length of America. On the east side, about 30% of the land. On the west, about 70% of the land. It's also interesting to note that the Mississippi River is considered the cradle of American civilization. And here's something else to take note of. Looking back at the map of Egypt, looking back at the Nile River, we find a city on the river called Memphis. And of course, in America, we also have a city named Memphis that sits on the Mississippi River. And it just so happens to have a massive pyramid in the city as well. It also has a statue of Ramses the Great in front of the pyramid. Even taking a look at American currency, we notice the two triangles, the pyramid and the capstone above it. The top capstone of the pyramid is not in place, and that's for a reason. It's denoting an unfinished situation. The capstone is detached from the bottom portion. And interestingly, the Great Pyramid of Egypt was never finished. So this unfinished situation was planned to remain in effect until the old world order was destroyed and replaced with a new world.
To somewhat set up the scene you were getting ready to watch. Sometimes he might make the statement like, "The following is offered for your approval," or perhaps for your consideration. So with that same concept, I would like to offer the following for you to consider, or contemplate at least, the possibilities of the information presented here. In other words, I'd really like you to think about it. Now, of course, you understand that by asking anyone to think about anything in this world of instant gratification and attention deficit disorders, that we must try to be brief, and thus we'll only touch on the main points to allow anyone to consider, and thereby perhaps be able to share thoughts or ideas on the subject discussed in this video. I have nothing to gain or to lose, so please take what you can use and disregard the rest. And please share as you see fit, but play nice. Now, consider the possibilities. Wow. Please note here I have not said the probabilities, but rather the possibilities. Consider that all things are possible, however unlikely they may seem. In other words, all things must seriously be considered in order to be considered serious. Okay. Yeah, I had to look at that again too. Let's see. All things must seriously be considered in order to be considered serious. Why so serious?
Why so serious?
With all the increase of strange phenomena, severe weather incidents, wildfires, earthquakes, war, civil unrest, and the list goes on and on. I mean, really, you could open a can of conspiracy theories for any subject you care to discuss. It's just the world of deception you live in. Many people, however, have noted how many of these events seem to come in waves. Now, we're not talking about waves like a baby saying goodbye or a bleacher full of fans doing the wave for some team, but rather waves perhaps better understood by observing a pebble striking the surface of water, the ripples expanding outward from the point of impact, those kind of waves, to describe the progression of events mentioned earlier, like the weather patterns increasing in intensity and frequency. To really grasp or take hold of where this video is headed, it may be important to note, when discussing waves or wave function, that there are two main words used to describe the measurements of said waves: longitudinal, which describes the length or linear progression, and transverse, which addresses the crests and troughs, or the height and depth of the wave as it moves through whatever medium you're looking at, in this case water. When the pebble or stone hits the surface, it sends out a shock wave, as it were, and can be witnessed as ripples or waves extending out from the point of impact. This can also be observed with an explosion as the percussion waves move out from the detonation center. Now, you're probably already wondering, what has this got to do with you or the title of this video? And remember, I said we need to consider all the possibilities, and therefore it has everything to do with you, as well as all of humankind for that matter. Each opinion and point of view should be considered before drawing a conclusion about anything. So don't forget to comment and share. Now, keeping in mind the idea of wave function, let's consider for a moment the theory of retrocausality. This is the idea that something has taken place in the future that causes an effect in the present. Now, even science and every religion actually teaches this to some level in one form or another. For example, all the ancient prophecies tell of future events to take place in the present, here and now, for whatever generation may be reading the prophecy at the time. In other words, any day could be our last day, for no one has a promise of tomorrow. Now, put like that, it sounds pretty doom and gloom, but scientifically, it's a plain biological fact. People die every day. You live and you die, and no one is guaranteed their next breath or their next heartbeat. So rather than focus on the inevitable reality of the fleshly demise, that word we call death, it is easier as a human to just imagine you'll live forever and thereby remove any anxiety or fear of one's own end. There should be no fear at all. When looking into the future, whether through the eyes of science or some ancient prophecy, trigger words for fear will keep popping up in the mindsets of those stuck in this media-trained society, which leads to cognitive dissonance and a complete shutdown and rejection of proposed theories or ideas that are outside of one's own comfort zone. So if you can look past your own fears as well as your belief systems long enough to grasp a concept that is both plausible in the field of quantum mechanics and entertainable to those of a more spiritual nature at the same time, then we can better understand retrocausality and how it may very well explain what is actually taking place with this quantum manipulation, or more popularly termed, the Mandela Effect.
It really doesn't matter whether you're a new Earth guy or an old Earth guy.
Some childhood memories are so vivid you remember them perfectly. But what if those memories are wrong? And thousands of others have the exact same false memories.
The internet is buzzing about this new phenomenon that's called the Mandela Effect.
All of us fall victim to false memory. It's a great brainwashing process which goes very slow, and it's divided in 4 basic stages.
We gave you false memories.
According to the Mandela Effect, there are several pop culture memories we all seem to get wrong. Take, for example, the iconic Queen song, "We Are the Champions." We've all chimed in at the bar, belting out that famous last line, "'Cause we are the champions of the world." But we've been singing it wrong. The lyrics of "the world" aren't even in the last line.
stop right there, mass media. That's a lie, and you gotta know it. How else do you account for 3 different occasions where Queen is singing in their concerts, "We are the champions of the world"? That's right. The whole mass population knows that song, been programmed to sing that song. You call me a psychopath.
There's a video called Happy at CERN that the folks at the US LHC uploaded to YouTube in November of 2014. It's getting some play because folks are seeing a connection to the Mandela Effect. And so they should. You don't have to be Einstein to see this as incriminating evidence and admission that they're responsible. We're not the first ones to give this some attention, but we're going to go deeper into the symbolism, shining more light in the darkness to bring their shadowy agendas into view. Here's the most interesting bit.
If you feel like that's what you want to do, bring me down, can't none bring me down. The love is too high, bring me down, can't none bring me down. I said, clap along if you feel like a room without a roof.
All through the video, people are dancing to the song Happy by Pharrell Williams. There's a few flying and spinning stunts with green screen special effects, but this guy in the messy office stands out like a sore thumb. What's going on here? Bottom line, it's a song and dance routine. This song and dance is intended to deceive, to mislead. It's an evasive ploy, a distraction, misdirection. We are happy at CERN. Okay, but look at the other signs. He's got placards hanging around his neck. On number 1, in Mandela. His shirt has math on it, which is a clue. It means do the math, solve the equation. On the wall poster there's a big piece of a jigsaw puzzle. It means there's a puzzle here, find the pieces and put it together. In the James Bond franchise, the first actor to play the role of Bond was Barry Nelson in 1954. The orange sign says Mandela. Do the math. Barry Nelson plus Mandela equals Barry Nelson Mandela. The phenomena that has become known as the Mandela Effect is named for the former president of South Africa, Nelson Mandela. Many people remember that he died in the early 80s when he was in prison, yet somehow all the evidence suggests that he got out of prison and lived until 2013. This guy is doing his version of the song and dance routine with a sign. We are happy at CERN. The @ symbol is a sign that tells us that they know how to use symbols. He covers his face with it. He gestures with it as his contribution to the song and dance routine. It's providing cover, not so much for his face, but for the real meaning of what's going on. It's not just cover for the scene, and we know this because what's written on the sign tells us that the meaning of the entire video is hidden and revealed. The guy is playing peekaboo, a game you play with infants. Now you see him, now you don't. Isn't this the way of the Mandela Effect? One day it's mirror, mirror on the wall, and the next day it's magic mirror on the wall. Peekaboo. Folks, we're being mocked. See all the piles of paper? Really, who has an office like that? It's part of the set design. Think of how the Mandela Effect deals with a collection of memories, like a stack of papers in a collection of documents. Some bound, some unbound. They're in the business of shuffling memories around like documents in big piles. The sight of such a mess and the obvious potential there is for piles to topple over raises stress in many people. This is one of the results of the Mandela Effect, which is really stressing a lot of people out. There's more symbols here, and we're going to keep exposing them. But do you see how this is an admission that they're responsible for the effect without them actually coming right out and saying it? Here's a little scene where they're dancing all over and around code 33.
If you feel like happiness is the truth, like happiness is the truth, like happiness is the truth.
The number 33 is a big deal, not just to the Freemasons. Notice the other emergency vehicle is signaling the mirroring of fire. As above, so below. Fire is one of the 4 elements honored with its watchtower or guardian when a magic circle is cast for the performance of a ritual. As we play through the context of this scene with the firemen, you'll see how this is part of the ritual casting of a magic circle, which is cast a circle beginning with air, and so we see a man flying through the air. Fire comes next, then water, then the earth, and the circle is cast. They show us one of the circles of the LHC as the magic circle. To show us the water, they do some charades with a group waving their arms, then a woman making a wave. We see big tanks and lots of the color blue. I think they obfuscate the water sequence and extend it because water is a symbol of time, and that's really what they're hiding. Here's a screenshot from 3 minutes and 30 seconds. That's a 33 on the counter. Player 1, player 2. Do you think we're being played? The video ends a few seconds later. Game over? Is that why they're so happy, because they think it's game over? The score showing is rather one-sided. You have to admit, with the reality of the Mandela Effect, it looks like their boast is legit. However, this game over bit they're dancing all over, it ain't over till it's over, and it ain't over yet. There are some other symbols in this commercial that should really speak to you about what's going on here. See this design on the pillow? It's called a mandala. These designs are used for meditative purposes, for attaining altered states of consciousness for the purpose of establishing a connection with the divine, which is to say, entering into communion with demons. Mandala. Think Mandela, like Nelson Mandela and the Mandela Effect. This phenomenon that has become known as the Mandela Effect has captured a lot of people's attention, but most have no idea really what to make of it. This mandala design acted in such a way that he has no more anchor to the past. He's lost his connection to reality because his memory can no longer be trusted. Why the bridge? A bridge is for spanning across to get you from one place to another. Where are they taking us? That's a question that needs to be asked. They're demonstrating that they can take us over a bridge. Where are we going? The song offers a hint in the line, clap along if you feel like a room without a roof. We know what this means. This message is being sent in a lot of ways, and it's getting very familiar. The folks responsible for CERN are illumined, Luciferian. They're going for the big win, to break through the glass ceiling, to use another one of their expressions. Their intention, scientifically and magically, is to break out of the constraints of this mortal coil in this space-time dimension.
In New York, where the United Nations is, where this is just too crazy, people. This is crazy stuff here. It's coming together. It's all coming together. Pretty soon, the world will be chipped. There it is. Meet Q. There is Q. This will be one of many. This will be the first of many of the quantum computers that will become a network globally. That's why they need the 5G network. Because this information is going to track, and literally it's going to be used to store disseminate the data of the whole world. Not just this one computer, not just this one quantum computer. That's just the first one. You know, once they make one, it's just a matter of building another one, building another one, and building another one. See, once these are networked together, you see what's going on here? They will have information at their fingertips within seconds on anybody in the world. And I mean anybody. Not only will it have the information of people's eyes, right? The iris, but it'll also have, you know, it's going to have the face recognition. It'll have the chip connected to the chip. Without question, this is part of the beast system. There's no question about it. And I still think it's not a coincidence that IBM is at the helm of this as far as the data, as far as the computation of this. The computation of this is being controlled by IBM, being spearheaded by IBM, which again, let me remind you, worked with Nazi Germany. Now think about this. The scientists that were in Nazi Germany under Operation Paperclip came over to the United States. And now so-called this QAnon is exposing the MK Ultra project. Could it be possible that QAnon is actually Q, the quantum computer?
Welcome to Sounds of IBM.
They're going after the mass.
To do with trying to reverse the prison that they are stuck in.
To put their hands on the arc of history and bend it once more toward the hope of a better day.
Game over? Is that why they're so happy, because they think it's game over? The score showing is rather one-sided. You have to admit, with the reality of the Mandela Effect, it looks like their boast is legit. However, this game over bit they're dancing all over, it ain't over till it's over, and it ain't over yet.
To put their hands on the arc of history and bend it once more toward the hope of a better day.
The folks responsible for CERN are illumined, Luciferian. They're going for the big
great claims made concerning this phenomenon, and due to the many experiences and growing awareness of such, many theories have been postulated and brought forth to try and explain not only what is happening in our current reality, but also why. With many people having the same collective memories of past events that do not match up to what the current recorded history shows, different spellings of words, changes in company signs and logos, famous lines in movies or songs somehow being altered from what many recall them originally being.
Let me say my piece, and then I'll let it be. I think there's a Mandela Effect thing happening here. I don't know if it's a Berenstain alternate universe happening. I sing it both ways, which is so weird to think about, but I've done it both ways.
Seemingly impossible and even supernatural changes in literature and art, as well as in geographical differences on maps or particular landmarks. Land masses and islands being moved out of their places, even great claims of changes to the human anatomy itself, and different recollections of people once thought dead, now living as if somehow resurrected to perhaps give them a second chance at life. Now, of course, the majority of the population are unaware or in total disbelief of such claims, as alluded to in the Mandela Effect community. And granted, many of the so-called changes perhaps are just fabrications or hoaxes presented to draw attention or create a false narrative to further a mind game of confusion. For example, this particular YouTuber has gone to the extreme to showcase his talent with simple special effects to try and hype the effect of changes taking place in his own home. Unfortunately, he wasn't studied enough in scripture to pull it off by making the mistake of just changing the word wolf to lion. Had he known the original scriptures, he would have also known that wasn't the only word changed to that verse. He was just another hoaxer looking for fame or notoriety, just adding to the conglomerate of confusion that is YouTube.
Alright, I admit it. I am the Lindbergh baby. Wah, wah, goo goo.
However, with more and more residual evidence to support these claims made of quantum molecular changes, the phenomenon of the effect has been accepted as real and even reported in the mainstream media as such. With more and more people realizing the scope and magnitude of the seriousness of this situation, many are driven to understand how any of this is even possible in the first place. Theories of multiple dimensions, split timelines, quantum pollution, and the digital nature of the universe. All of these giving way to even more theories of alien interventions and government experiments, New Age awakening, and even time travel. Many of these ideas working in tandem with each other to introduce a complete smorgasbord of concepts for the conspiracy theory-minded community to be able to feast forever without ever coming to any real conclusions. And many have come to believe that the largest machine ever built by man, located at the CERN facility near Geneva, is perhaps the cause due to their experiments and the CERN scientists' own claims of trying to open portals or doorways to other dimensions and understand or even manipulate the reality of our universe. And why not with the electromagnetics that are said to be 100,000 times stronger than the Earth's natural magnetic pull, sending out waves of force to affect the Schumann resonance and thereby even affect the frequency of the brain waves of humans? Of course, this is with the assumption that you, the viewer, already have an understanding of DARPA and Fermilab, the Brain Initiative, particle colliders, quantum computers, the HARP program, and so on and so on. All of which are government-funded research programs, I might add, that just scratch the surface of what might be called mind-blowing reality with technological advancements that are beyond the comprehension of even those involved in said projects. Let's just say that much of science fiction is really science fact.
I will propose a significant investment by the National Institutes of Health, DARPA, and the National Science Foundation to help get this project off the ground.
So, with all of this in mind, let's imagine, if you will, that something has taken place in the future that is of such great proportion that it has caused a shock wave to reverberate throughout the molecular realm of matter and even time itself. Now, I know this may sound a bit far-fetched to those outside of the field of quantum physics, but I assure you this theory is quite real, and given the current understanding of matter manipulation through quantum entanglement, along with the mathematical computations concerning the fourth dimension of time itself, well, then we can truly imagine and contemplate such an event having already taken place in our future. So, for argument's sake, let's say this future event is of such a cataclysmic nature that it has in fact caused an impact that has sent a wave of quantum distortion affecting not only the molecular makeup of matter, but even our understanding of the linear time constraints.